Hi everyone, Assalamu alaikum, Namaste. We are back again with another episode of Gold Roti. This is Dr. Amin.
Hi, and I'm Dr. Ambreen Alana, two physician moms who are here to stir up some real talk with a dash of empathy and a sprinkle of science.
So, Amreen's talking about empathy and a little bit of science brings me to the topic of today, which is many people quietly struggle with narcissism and, more importantly, how it affects the mental health of people around them. So, it completely changes you and it makes you question your mental health or ideology.
Exactly. And it's not just about self-absorbed personality, that we often joke about, like, oh, he or she is so selfish. Narcissism, especially when it's part of NPD, which is narcissistic personality disorder, can have very deep and lasting effects on partners, children, co-workers, basically everybody around them.
So we have divided today's episode into segments. So first we're going to talk about let's understand narcissism. जैसे कि अमरीन ने अभी बोला that there is a narcissistic personality disorder as well and narcissism. So they both are separate terms. Narcissistic personality disorder is not that common. However, narcissism in today's digital age and self-love is very common, and it exists on a spectrum. On one end, it's very good to have confidence and self-focus, but when it's too much and you have too much high self-esteem of yourself and you don't care about anyone around you, then it turns into that narcissistic personality disorder and then it is harmful.
Yeah, and NPD is like actually a diagnosable mental health condition characterized by, like a pattern of grandiosity, constant need of admiration, and basically just the lack of empathy. And it's unfortunate that these people also have a very fragile sense of self that's masked by arrogance or manipulation.
And while people with NPD, they may not see that their behavior is problematic. So that's where the issue starts.
Right.
That they are
Yeah.
always right and everything is wrong with you. So it can create an emotional chaos around in people around them,
Yeah.
and especially in close relationships.
Yeah, and nobody likes walking on eggshells, but it's hard. It's hard to even be friends with somebody who has narcissistic personality, let alone know somebody with NPD. And then over time, I feel like they try to manipulate situations where they always uh, remain as the victim. Um, or the hero, somebody who just saved the day. And this can leave the other person in the relationship very unheard, emotionally drained, and it makes them feel like they're walking on eggshells.
So yeah, and that's really heartbreaking. Is that people who live around narcissists, they start doubting their own reality. It's always self-doubt. कि यार क्या मुझ में problem है? Is I am the one who's the problem? Because they are always right. They present themselves as so perfect, that it's hard to, for people who love them, they cannot question them. So yeah, you keep it's just like a gaslighting. So it becomes really problematic.
Yeah, and so the next segment is what kind of physical and psychological toll does it take on the other person who's in a relationship with a narcissist? And our bodies cannot separate emotional pain from physical stress. People dealing with narcissistic abuse show a lot of signs of chronic stress response. Their cortisol always stays high, their immunity always stays low, and they can even experience what we call PTSD or CPTSD type symptoms.
So ये emotional effects तो हैं, which Amreen talked about the mental health effects, but chronic exposure of this emotional abuse can lead to physiological symptoms, and it can translate into physical symptoms like always having headache, fatigue, sleep problems, digestive issues, and elevated blood pressure. So I have seen people describing it as emotional exhaustion that is living in their bones, and it's not just sadness, it's like deep depletion. Your nervous system stays in a survival mode all the time, और आपको कभी safe feel नहीं होता है.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's exactly what it feels like. And I've had patients who've come to me, and I've done blood work on them, and we've done, a decent amount of testing, and we've spent time uh, trying to figure out what's wrong with them. When, at the end of the day, after a few visits, they shared that they just were not in a healthy relationship, and that spoke a lot. So how do you deal with narcissistic abuse? How do you deal with different types of difficult people? So, Eamon, if you can share about some coping methods, please.
Sure, I would jump into that, but I just want to describe कि हम बार बार जो close relationship की बात करें, it's not just a
Hmm.
romantic relationship or marriage. Sometimes people live with parents who are narcissists,
Right.
and that's when when they grow up, they become like people pleasers or overly critical adults
Yeah.
of others. They can go either way. It could be very people pleasing personality, or they just become they don't care, and they also end up becoming a narcissist.
Yeah.
So
And I read something really nice the other day, Eamon, hurt people hurt other people. So if you're hurt yourself and if you're not in healthy relationships, then that cycle is
exactly.
just, it's a generational cycle that's just going to continue.
Exactly, exactly. So yeah, and sometimes it's just not the parents are narcissists, it's just you raising a child in that way. You're always praising him, always, boosting his ego, providing whatever he wants or she wants every time, not saying no. That can also make their personality as a narcissist.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So how
So
do you cope with people who are just,
exactly. So let's
difficult?
talk about coping. The first step is recognizing the pattern. If you have seen that you are living with a person who is like that or who has these kind of symptoms which we are describing, and if you keep feeling confused, invalidated, and emotionally drained after interacting with someone like that, it's worth exploring whether narcissist dynamics are at play or not.
Yeah. And Eamon knows we've both met our fair share of narcissists over the years. And one thing that I've personally learned is setting boundaries. Extremely important for every woman and in fact, every single person listening to this show. And narcissists don't like boundaries. So, you setting them and you learning how to set them is extremely important. So, protect your emotional energy, limit oversharing, disengage from arguments, and just stop seeking their validation.
So yeah, and when it comes to treatment, आप उनका treatment तो नहीं कर सकते because they are perfect in their own world.
Yeah,
They are never
right,
gonna accept कि
right.
अगर आपने उनको बोल दिया ना therapy seek कर लो, so they're gonna
Yeah,
get mad at you, really, really mad.
yeah. And I've seen people introspect, but it takes them a long time to even agree that there might be something wrong with them. And those are just the very, I can like count those number of people on my fingers. The majority has no self awareness.
Yeah. So for you, because you are dealing with that person, आप अपने आप को protect कर सकते हो. That's the best thing you can do. So therapy can be life changing here, especially if you're recovering from a narcissistic abuse. इसके लिए trauma informed therapy होती है, CBT होती है, which is the cognitive behavioral therapy. It can help rebuild your self trust because you have started doubting your own personality कि मेरे साथ मसला है, and it helps you reduce the guilt or shame victims that often carry.
Yeah. So, if you're listening to this and if what Eamon and I have just said has resonated with you, just know that you're not alone. A lot of people go through this. I'm sure we all know someone who's either has NPD, diagnosed or undiagnosed, or just has narcissistic tendencies. Um, but just know that you deserve relationships that are whole, that make you feel very complete and loved, and it's very mutual. So everybody deserves a relationship like that. I think understanding narcissism and moving on from that person, or just improving and working on yourself and setting boundaries will take you a long way.
And like Amreen mentioned, it's let's normalize stepping away from toxic dynamics, and that's completely okay. अगर ये आपकी mental health को affect कर रहा है, आपकी physical health को affect कर रहा है, आपकी daily functioning को affect कर रहा है,
Yeah,
it's better to distance yourself emotionally or even physically. There is no doubt, or there's nothing wrong in that. And
yeah,
then again, please, therapy is something that can help you. वही हम पहले भी ये कुछ एपिसोड में बात कर चुके हैं कि पाकिस्तानी कल्चर में therapy is not that acceptable,
yeah.
or a Pakistani, Indian, or any South Asian. But it really does help.
कॉन्सेप्ट ही नहीं है ना, लाइक दैट एंटायर, आई थिंक देयर आर जनरेशंस ऑफ पीपल जो जिनके पास होंगे मेंटल हेल्थ challenges, mental health disorders, but हमें पता ही नहीं है. And there's like a lot of generational trauma. Nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to get diagnosed. And it's just an ongoing cycle. So no is a complete sentence. Learn how to set boundaries. And Eamon, would you, I think you do some, you have some resources, right? Because you have a clinic that specializes in mental health. So maybe Eamon and I later can take some of your all questions, like specific questions and cases, or if you know somebody, just send it to us, and we'll take your question and we'll talk about it anonymously, and we'll give you some advice and feedback.
Yes, please do reach out to us, send your questions, or just share this video and tag us. Tag us anywhere in the comment, and we'll respond to you for sure. Um, so अगर नार्सिसिस्ट की बात की जाए तो आप पहचानेंगे कैसे? सबसे पहली बात तो ये होती है, बिफोर वी reach to our final thoughts and hope and healing. ये लोग बहुत डिफिकल्ट पर्सनालिटीज होते हैं. नो मैटर व्हाट यू डू इज नॉट इनफ, and they always want everything their own way, and you have to please them all the time, and that's what they want, and you cannot get away with that. You try, no matter what, it's always your fault. So you will eventually, if you have someone like that in your life and we are talking about it, you will be able to recognize right away when we are talking about it.
Yeah, yeah. And I think Eamon always tells me this personally, but today I actually have a chance to say it out loud, that it's okay to keep your friend circle or your goal roti circle small, but just keep it real.
Yep. So let's jump into the healing and hope part. So maybe Amreen can start with that, and then I can move forward.
So healing from narcissistic relationships takes time, but it is absolutely possible. Reconnecting with yourself, building, a village around you full of supportive people, and then just taking care of yourself, acts of self-compassion, even if it's just something small that you do daily, can make a big difference. And then, of course, therapy, right? It's extremely important. I know कि हम लोग के culture में this is a big taboo word, but like therapy helps. It helps you identifying who is that narcissistic person or people in your life, plural, and how to set boundaries. That's actually something therapy teaches you, how to set boundaries and how to get away from that toxic situation. So it's not just therapy is not just about two people talking their hearts out and rambling. It's about actually
Mhm.
teaching you some life skills that you weren't taught in school.
Yep. And again, like we said before, remember, you cannot change a narcissist. You cannot even force them to take therapy because there's nothing wrong with them. But what you can do is how you respond to what they're doing to you. You can reclaim your peace, your self worth, your sense of safety.
Yeah, yep, absolutely. And send us your queries, your questions, anything that you would like to talk about.
If you found this episode helpful, please share it, tag us, whatever. Until next time, and we will definitely let you know what the new topic is, so you can send us your questions earlier on.
Yeah,
People reach out to us, and then
yes,
we figure out
yeah,
what should be the best topic. So
yeah,
we once we get your response from you, then we're going to announce it very soon.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, and thank you
Thank you.
for listening to us. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.